Welcome into the 30 Minutes of Hell podcast for the Field of 68 Network. I'm joined by Dan Leibovitz, the Associate Commissioner of the SEC for men's basketball. Coach, what's happening? How we doing?
How we doing, Pat? Great to see you.
Good to see you.
You in the basement there? Where are you? The backdrop.
Yeah. Well, in this day and age of all the Zoom video stuff, which I know you've been getting used to that over the last couple of years. Everybody has had to. I've been forced to go find some old memorabilia that I had laying around the house. So I got a few things here. I got my old weight belt. I got my old shooting shirt.
I see.
Yeah.
I like that you don't have all the books that you've read. Like that's the thing. I know you'd only fill the one level there, but I appreciate you didn't spare. You spared us that trophy instead of books. Coffee table.
Yeah. Is that what's supposed to go in there? Is books? You'll like this one. I do got one book. You'll like this. I don't break anything.
Oh yeah. We all read that.
I did read that book.
All the basketball books, I believe you.
Well, let's get caught up. We're about a month into the season. This is going to be a pro Razorback podcast, which you get no problem with. A lot of Razorback listeners and viewers. But first, let's talk about the Hogs, and then we'll get into the rest of the SEC, because if no one has heard, we got a pretty darn good league this year.
Yeah.
So your impressions of the Razorbacks this year?
Good. The Hogs are good. I think they're deep. I think they're talented, super athletic, and like everyone now in college basketball, you've got some returning guys and you've got a lot of new ones. And Coach Muss is really good at figuring out what works with a new group. And I think as each game goes by, he gets a little more familiar with with what the strengths of his team is, maybe the weaknesses, and I think they're coming along. I think I don't have to sell your fans. Your fans love the Hogs, and I see this you've had all the time. The one thing about Arkansas is they're a program with an identity for 30, 40 years. I mean, the Hog fans want to see Hogs run. Not that they don't do anything in half-court offense, but if they ran the zipper set and the flex all day and won the SEC, I don't think your fans would necessarily love that. They like to see a little transition, running around. But I think Muss has got a really good team, and with the schedule laying out there, you had a big challenge Saturday, and now they're a couple games here, and then we get to the SEC. It's going to be great to see them respond to the challenges.
So you, having coached in college, one of the challenges for Razorback fans, all fans at this time, is you talk about identity. And so with all the change in faces, fans sort of get worried. They get concerned when you have a game like the Hogs did against Oklahoma and didn't look anything like they did in the previous games. How long does it take, in your experience, or what are the coaches trying to accomplish right now? Like, how much different is this team going to look in the end of February, beginning of March?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish I could tell you the exact amount of time, because it's always different, right? You saw Memphis last night against Alabama kind of click for maybe the first time, and maybe they'll be good the rest of the year. Who knows? Arkansas last year, I would say it was at Alabama. They kind of hit rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
Alabama's peaking. Arkansas's not playing very well. All of a sudden, from there, I want to say they start, I don't remember now, 9-10 games in a row. So it's never the same point in the season for everyone. But I think you're trying to figure out, who can I count on consistently? When I go to this guy off the bench, what does he give me? Is he better on the bench? Is he better as a starter? This set works, that set doesn't work. I think what he does know is it's a team that plays really hard. I don't think that's an issue. They're generally defending. He's just trying to figure out how to play, I think, to the strengths of the personnel and which combinations of players on the floor works best together. And I think that one of the things he does, I think the average fan might want to speak for Muss here, right? He's watching this, but I think it's like with them, it's simplicity, but it's simplicity with detail. So it's really good spacing and a lot of choreographed movements within the offense. And I think he called it space and pace. But what they do, if you look at their numbers defensively, are really good. And they're rebounding really well on the defensive end, which is a really good sign for a basketball team. And they're not, coming into this league where you've got great athletes. We miss a lot of shots in this league. We've got great athletes, but you better block out because they're coming. So they're doing a good job on that end of the floor. But I think it's just learning, and for all the tweets that Musk puts out there,
Right.
the ones that are my favorite are his post-game autopsies. As
Yeah.
right? Well, he says, this is what we did well, this is what we don't do well. So don't think he's not studying every little facet and every little possession to say, hey, this is one we got to repeat. This is something we got to get rid of, whether it's a play, something a player did. They got a good staff and they're figuring it out.
Yeah. How many years now you've been working in the SEC?
My 6th year.
6 years. So what were your impressions of Coach Musk at Nevada? So you were here when he got hired.
Yep.
What'd you think of him previously? And then would you immediately think of the fit of him getting hired in favor?
Well, it's interesting. The first time that I was ever introduced to Musk, I was an assistant coach at Temple, and I went to the Pumps Clinic in California.
Oh, yeah.
He was presenting as the head coach of the Warriors at the time, and I still have those notes. He was, player development is like the word now, right? Player development. He was really ahead of the curve in the NBA. Not that they weren't developing players, but he was developing. I remember a binder for each player. This is your last 5 games. This is your last game. This is what you do well. This is what we need to work on with you. And that kind of tailor-made development is where the game is gone. You got to play as a team, but you have to make sure that each player understands that he's being developed and we're devoting time to your present and your future. So that was the first thing. And then honestly at Nevada, he got the reputation for the transfers. That's what you heard about. It was Rothstein always writing the importer, right? So it's like that. And he was, and you hear it a lot on the cutting edge of that. I saw him in the NCAA tournament. I want to say they played Florida in the NCAA.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a run they all run together. I can't remember, was that year or another year.
That's when he had the twin. He had the twins Martins.
Yes. Yeah. So one of them's on the Hornets now. My son's a diehard Hornet fan because I used to. Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, we watch the Hornets every night, so I see the one Martin anyway. But no, I know. Obviously, he's got a great basketball background and pedigree, and I knew he was a good coach and innovative. I think that's one thing I knew about him is he would do things out of the box, and I look at now really the social media. I hate to keep going back to that, but there's people I got coaching who are like, oh man, all the guy does is tweet. Well, he probably spends all of 5 minutes in a day doing that, but his background as a marketer, if you really think about it, comes from his dad. In Minnesota in the CBA, he was famous for that and finding ways to draw people in, and I think it's great that Bud Walton's not something that you necessarily always have to work so hard because he got such great fans, but he's giving them something in the pregame, and I love that about him, that he does things that are fun for fans, but a lifer basketball guy, and a really good coach.
He is like, you can't imagine him doing anything else, and it amazes me, his energy, and everything he does is geared towards winning that next game. And it's you want to believe that everybody, all coaches are, but I don't know if there's too many people built like him, where he just you mentioned the social media, you mentioned the marketing side of it. It's like he's always thinking of new ways, and it's almost, if you're a coach and there's a guy out there like him, you're gonna be like, oh,
right.
Take it easy, Musk.
Yeah, he's not like a golfer. I don't think he's the guy that's going to go fishing. He's not going to get on the pontoon boat. Like most coaches will have a week here and there where they're going to do something. I don't think he does. I really don't. And I think if he did have a pontoon boat, he'd have an iPad watching the game while he was on there. And maybe he does that. But
let me ask you,
he's a basketball junkie, without a doubt.
So you brought up the transfers. What is, from a coaching standpoint and from where you sit now, what are the pros and the cons of the transfer portal and how the transfers are at a higher rate now than we've seen. There's good and bad in everything.
Yeah, I think what's really hard for everyone, really, it starts with the fans. So it's not what we're used to. It's not what we grew up with. We grew up watching people in the NBA. You know, I was a Sixers fan. Dr. J spent basically his whole career there, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't have the same level of free agency and movement, and we just wanted to be like it was. We wanted to be like it was with Pat Bradley at Arkansas. So everyone's got to get used to, like it or not. I don't see it going back. So we've all got to adjust our thinking. I think as a coach, I don't know. In some ways, it's tough. I mean, if you're going through a tough stretch in your season, you lose 2, 3, 4 games in a row. You can't always pat your guys on the back and tell them how great they're playing. You're gonna have some tough practice. You got to. I thought about the other day. You could have 2, 3 guys in the locker room and say, "Hey, I had enough. I'm getting out of here." And they could say that in the past, but in the past, you knew they had to wait a year, so they had a little more skin in the game to make that decision. So I think it's a little unnerving, I'm sure, at times for coaches. And it's changed the recruiting so much. It's changed. There's so much less high school recruiting. Us and Arkansas have done a really good job in this class. It's funny. They're the transfer guys, but in this class, they've got the
Yeah.
best.
You know what that is, though? That's a tip of the cap to Arkansas high school coaches.
No doubt.
Because Arkansas has always been, there was years Coach Richardson, even Eddie Sutton, and Coach Sutton was able to go to Chicago. He had a connection to Chicago, bring some top level talent. But usually Arkansas is getting in-state kids, maybe a couple Memphis kids, yes, some Texas. And so you can see this, the years that the Razorbacks have had success, it's directly linked back to those in-state Arkansas kids. And must took advantage of it, right? I mean, there's been some kids that we have lost in Arkansas. I won't mention one. He played for the Charlotte Hornets there for a hot minute. But that's why also the relationship between Muss and the high school coaches is got to be good, right? I mean, you know how important that is.
Yes, you said it perfectly. So Arkansas is one of those situations in college basketball where you say Arkansas, people say, "Oh man, great job," and it is, and it's for that reason, because I was a coach, and when I went to a game and there was an Arkansas kid, and you started thinking about it, and you saw, one of their coaches there, "Oh man, we ain't getting that kid." Like there's only so many kids you're going to pull out of that state when the Hogs really want them, right? And the other thing is you travel. I mean, I know the result on Saturday was not what the Hogs fans wanted,
right?
But all I heard about was how many Arkansas fans were in the BOK Center, and actually more than Oklahoma. I mean, not even close. Right. So we know when Arkansas is good and Arkansas is excited, especially excited, we know that our tournament in Nashville, our tournament in Tampa, we're going to look up there when we play, and you're going to see their fans. And we want 14 of those. That's gold for you and for us and for everyone. It's great to have that kind of passionate fan base. But getting back, the transfer thing is, it's tough. I mean, it's tough to know exactly what you're getting sometimes. Sometimes it didn't work at another school for a reason, and there's something there with an attitude or in the game that you miss, and you really are taking on someone else's problems. Or you might have somebody that truly didn't fit a style, didn't fit a coach, or there was a really good reason, and he's perfect for what you do. So you've got to really, really, really evaluate. And you got to put your team together like a puzzle. You just can't have an all-star team where everybody needs the ball, everybody needs to score, and you've got to identify who can play with who and who can sacrifice in this environment, because everybody's old.
Yeah, right.
Right? Nobody's coming and thinking, "I'm just a freshman, I'll wait my turn." There's so many juniors that are new to your team, and they kind of have expectations in some respect, right?
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for Bet Rivers yet, now is the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer It's more secure and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the scorer's table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young and Duke's Andre Dawkins and North Carolina's Shammond Williams and Michigan's Stu Douglas and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football.
Yeah, it's a interesting dynamic because, like coaches, they always say, yeah, we want to get old and stay old. But the dynamic is when you take a transfer, like a grad transfer, they know this is it. There's a sense of desperation that you're going to have that you don't get with a freshman or sophomore who thinks, I got a couple years, you know what I mean? I'll get there. So it's an interesting. Is there some guy, like I said, I talk about Coach Richardson a lot. He wanted older guys. Al Dillard was 30 years old. Al Dillard was eating the early bird specials with the old people, okay, when he came to Fayetteville to get recruited. But Coach Richardson loved junior college kids, loved older guys. I'm talking in national championship team, they half of them were getting Social Security back then, Coach. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I do think that coaches maybe are able to get back to that, not having to deal with the freshman mistakes and things like that. So it's, a lot of them welcome it, I would imagine.
Yes. As long as in today's environment, you're actually getting someone's last shot because, you can still go as a grad transfer. You can still transfer as a senior. You can transfer more than once. Right. But you're right. Your approach is exactly what I would say. We're going to get his best. We're going to get his best behavior, his best effort. He's got no other choice but for it to work out here. So I agree.
All right, so I want to talk to you about something. Everybody thinks the game has changed, the three-point shot, this and that. So I went and looked back. There's a great website, hogstats.com, and this guy puts together basically the biggest archive of Razorback basketball statistics. And I was looking back, one of my teams, it was might have been 98. We 38% of our shots, over 30, were from the 3-point line, which was a high rate. And now you look at it, and the highest rates in the country are about 40%. I did think I heard a team was shooting 50% of their shots from the three. I'm not so sure about that, but the 3-point line has always been a huge part of the game. I don't understand why we're always prisoners of the moment. Like, everything's changing. What is your philosophy in general around the 3-point shot? How to take, how often you're taking it?
I think that what's really changed. You're right again. No surprise. You know this game.
Yes, I can. I can retire, man. I'm done.
Come on, man. You know this game. But I'm on the competition committee for the NCAA, and we look at the numbers, and statistically, there's so little variance over long stretches of time. We're going to move 3-point line. Our numbers are going to go down. They go down for a year, and then they just about return to where they've always been. And I think what's radically different is the 2-point shot is now like a dirty word, right? So when a guy ran at you at Arkansas and you were playing and you shot fake one dribble and you probably got really good at that because everybody tried to run you off the 3-point line. Now we don't love that shot, right? Because, it's still a jump shot and you have just as much a chance to miss that shot as a 3. So why not shoot a 3? So now guys, what they do is like Reddick was so good at it was shot fake and slide to the right and shoot or left, slide and shoot a 3. So you can't really run them off the line. They're going to shoot 3. But I think we've taken the 2 out, the long 2. So I don't know that we're shooting we're still shooting threes. We're trying to get to the rim, but we've taken away the long two, and that's and now that's almost coming back, right? So the NBA last year, you saw the great players. They still got to make that shot. Jeff Van Gundy makes that point a lot. You still got to be able to make the in-between game to be an elite player at key times of the game. But no, I don't look at. I think it's a huge weapon. It's been a huge weapon in this league. If you look at C.M. Newton was at Vanderbilt, he was cutting edge with it. Rick Pitino at Kentucky was cutting edge with it, and people thought they were crazy. But when Bobby Knight started letting Steve Alford shoot a lot of threes, you knew the game was changing, right? Like the ultimate 2-point guy, motion offense. But I don't know. I don't think I ever look at a game if they're good shots and say, "Oh man, way too many threes tonight." I think if they're good shots, they're good shots.
Yeah, and you definitely need to. I mean, floor spacing. That's like when I talk to people how, for a player like me, I try to explain how getting like that up tempo is such an advantage. It was for me when I played because I could find open spots on the floor. It was much easier for me to get lost in the defense when everybody's running back and they don't know who's got what. And, you can kind of just creep up to the line and hopefully you got a good point guard that can find you.
I think what's changed. So I'm tired of saying you're right. We're just gonna presuppose that basketball. So when you talk about point guards, when we were coming up, you think about pick and roll. When you say pick and roll to me, I still will always envision. Who would you envision pro basketball when I say pick and roll?
Bird McHale.
Well, that's you. You got a 6'10" guy and a 6'11" guy. I would say Stockton and Malone. Right? You'd say Stockton Malone. Take your Celtics hat off or whatever you're wearing. You'd say Stockton Malone. When you say that, you think about a two-man action. You think about, it's unstoppable. If they don't help, he's going to score. If they do help, he's going to hit mailman with pocket pass for a dunk. You think about a two-man action. And now pick and roll is a 5-man action. So it's not even about really the role so much a score is who's going to help him, going to find his guy. And you'd love to play today, right? Because if your guy helps on the roll, they're going to skip through the corner. You just got to stand there. So I think the way that we use pick and roll and spread the floor and nobody in there has made the game. That ends in a 3-point shot so much.
Yeah. Do you think looking the future of basketball, and I know positionless basketball, like that whole term, man, I get so frustrated though, because I always felt like every basketball player should be able to shoot, pass, and dribble. I don't care if you're 7 feet tall. I don't care if you're 1 foot tall. Isn't that the name of the game, Coach? Like, whoa, what?
Yeah. And I think that's where the Europeans were ahead of us. They were developing the Dirks and the Porzingis and these guys that like guards. And I think we were, all of a sudden you're 6'2" and you're 14. Well, you're a post player. You better learn how to drop step. Right. Now I think we're teaching the game differently in the States, and you see it. You see multi-skilled guys that big guys in this league where Jabari Smith I saw last night at Auburn. 15 years ago we would have said, "Well, put him on the post and And now
get your butt on the post.
Right. Now you watch him shoot the ball. I said, well, wait a minute. He's really good.
Like Coach Sutton did to Joe Klein. Get your tail on that block.
Yeah. So it's just it's different, and I think it's great the way we develop players.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun game. Like to me, it's about freedom. Like you never want to be on the basketball court in an uncomfortable situation, right? Like a big man having to dribble. Well, if you that's a bad situation to be. That's why you play. Yeah, I play to my strengths. That's the reason why I had to develop that 10-foot pull-up, was because the closer to the rim I got, the lower the percentages of my shot.
Right. Floaters didn't exist either, really. Nobody was teaching a floater. Right. That was like a horrible shot. And now I go to every practice and everybody's drilling floater. I wonder sometimes. Yeah. Like everything always swings back. So everyone's gonna be positionless and smaller and play with forwards, let's say. And I feel like somebody's gonna go big and win, maybe, right? And maybe Yeah, maybe over time we'll see it go back, but I just don't see. I won't say nobody, but there's just not as much post-ups, right? It's
No, and
so much more to that. I think the Warriors influenced that a lot, right? Their success and the way they play is kind of we follow the NBA a lot, right?
yeah. So how I'm curious your perception, because what I've seen, the influence of a lot, and people will say AAU coaches, and it's sort of funny because they're, when we were coming up, your AAU coaches were guys that had been established for years, decades. And those in my mind, the AAU coaches. And now you have, could be anybody that's, influencing kids. So in a way, I see how it starts there. Like some of these coaches, they're like, no, we want everybody to shoot, dribble, pass. And that's sort of, because that's the kind of talent you're getting. I'll give you an example. We got, trying to think that if there's another one, but LSU's got a kid, Efton Reed, right now, 7-footer, freshman. The kid is talented, okay? I did one of their games. The thing that impressed me right off the bat was this kid got his butt on the block, back to the basket, got big. They threw it to him. He's making post moves like he's playing in 1987, coach. So to your point, yes, it could go back like that if you got a kid that's good enough doing it, because he's unstoppable. 7 foot, he's 2 feet from the rim.
Right. Yeah, he's got to buy in. And I don't fault anybody for thinking about the league, not at all. I don't fault the college player for thinking what's the best path for me. It's just like if I was a student and an artist, I want to be a professional artist. Well, what classes I got to take? What exhibits so I got to start? Whatever the heck artists do. Sorry to all of that. But I don't blame an NBA college player thinking about what my path is. But if you got a coach that's able to sell them that, if you do this really well, it's going to help us win and it's going to make you look great, and they buy in, absolutely you should be playing on the post.
And I'll throw another one at you. And I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you, but I credit that LSU team for learning how to throw it in the post, the art of the post pass, and not jacking it up, being patient, right? I mean, that's part of it too. Big guys, I probably would be the same way. Like, man, you guys aren't throwing into me. I'm going to step back behind 3-point line. I'll shoot threes with you too.
I can miss just like you can.
It's just like you can. We'll wrap it up here in a couple minutes. Just overall in the league, obviously, got to be the biggest win of the year is Bama beating Gonzaga, unless I'm missing another victory out there that was huge. So I kind of see it each week. We'll be talking about a different team being our best team in the SEC. Could be Auburn's week, Bama's week, LSU's looking great. Then Kentucky comes out of nowhere. Arkansas gets a big win. How do you view the league in terms of pecking order? And
yeah, I think it's these November, December marquee games are so important. You set so much of your season based on those multi-team events, the Atlantises and the Mauis and preseason NIT and all those, Charleston, those events. If you do well in those events, which like Arkansas wins the Hall of Fame Classic, I was there for the Kansas State game. We won 3 of those. So you keep kind of picking off these wins and looking at the calendar and it just keeps thinking, wow, if we have another week like this, if we didn't have another week like this, this last week, not our best, right? Not our best. But we come out of it with 6 ranked teams, right? Still really good Pomeroy. I look at Pomeroy all day, every day. We've got great numbers. We're probably in a better position numerically, with the rankings than we've been since I've been here. And there's so much that you can say. Alabama's got the great wins with Gonzaga and Houston. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
Nobody will have 2 better wins than that, maybe all year.
Yeah.
And then, Auburn's playing really well, and Auburn's going to add Alan Flanagan back, which people, you don't forget, but some people forget, right? That's an all SEC player.
Not only don't I forget, Coach, I played against his father when his father was at Auburn. I played against his uncle when his uncle was at Ole Miss. He played, and his uncle hacked me, and I didn't get the call. No, multiple times. You want to know a team of hackers? Check this out. Ole Miss had Jason Flanagan. They had Mike White. And they had Keith Carter. I mean, I had bruises all up and down everywhere after playing those guys.
We played them when I was coaching at Temple, home and home with Mike and Keith.
Oh, did you?
Played them in the NCAA tournament in 1997. The game at Ole Miss is still referred to as the hot chocolate game at Temple. Our players, they had this great hot chocolate maker in the lobby. And I think every player had like 5 cups of hot chocolate the day before the game. They're all sick. They put it on us pretty good. We got it back in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, that's
definitely a physical team, though. That was Anzu Cisse on the other.
Anzu Cisse, yeah,
really good team.
It was a really good team. Jason Harrison. It was half their team were Arkansas kids. Really, they did a good job of recruiting Arkansas. Time flies. I gotta get you back on
the best
a little bit further down the road in the season.
Pat, I would do this every day if they would let me. This is great. So I appreciate it.
I love it.
My foot in my mouth, but I love talking basketball with you. I love what you bring to the SEC on the network. I love that you're a Boston guy. I'm a Philly guy. You're a Razorback. I'm here with the SEC, and it works because we just love basketball and we love people. And that's the greatest thing about our jobs. We get to fly around and see all these games, these coaches, these student athletes, these fans. It's awesome. So
yeah, it's good. If you see Scotty Thurman Jr. in the offices, tell him I said what's up.
I'm only about 15 feet away. I will.
Okay, good. Yes. He's a good kid. He's a great kid. All right, Dan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat.
All right.
Take care.